Hello, everybody, and welcome into ESPN FC Daily. We are going to be live with you after all of the biggest games in the World Cup. That's myself, Kay Murray, and Luis Miguel Echegaray. We have to thank our producers for this because we thought, Luis, how can we ensure that we get to watch every single World Cup game in the name of work and then have to talk about it afterwards?
You know what? I love the fact that we just came up with this idea because otherwise it wasn't going to happen, Kay. Otherwise, we weren't going to watch anything. So we said, listen, ESPN, give us a show and we'll watch it and we'll talk about it and we get paid for it. How good is that?
It's fantastic. In fact, I was so excited. I almost came into the show too early today. And so that just tells you how excited I am for the show. Thank you so much for being with us. Make sure you are with us throughout the whole of the World Cup. There's so much to talk about today. We're going to just give our big picture World Cup takes. We're going to talk about surprises, disappointments. We're going to give you our picks. I'll be picking Luis up on a few of those as well. And then we're going to be talking about who we think's in the final. And Mark Ogden is going to join us a little later on. He's going to be talking about Cristiano Ronaldo and that bombshell interview, what it means for Portugal going forward. Luis is shaking his head already.
Listen, I know that we're going to talk a lot about, but I am so done with Cristiano Ronaldo and Manchester United. I can't wait to get into it, Kay, because I'm done. It's like a telenovela. I just can't take it anymore.
And it will no doubt be coming up throughout the course of this World Cup. So let's start then. What are you most excited about when it comes to this World Cup, Luis, for you? What stand out to you?
All right, so there's a few things, Kay, and obviously we have to begin with the fact that it's in November, right? So it's all new to everybody. And the fact that we're going to have Thanksgiving at the same time as, World Cup matches, and then Black Friday has England against the US, obviously, like, that's something to talk about. So the fact that it's in November is interesting, right? But to me, it's a few things. From a football perspective, I think that the margin of difference, Kay, between the very good teams, the ones that could win it, right? Your Brazils, Argentina's, France, England, dare I say, right? All those teams and everybody else. The difference, I think, this World Cup is at its thinnest. And my point being that, like, your threes and fours in a group are actually competitors. There's no group of death. They're all groups of involuntary manslaughter. They're all tough. Anybody can get them. So to me, I'm excited about that. Obviously, Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, it could be their last World Cups. Neither has won a World Cup. That's a massive thing to me. And African teams, specifically teams like Senegal and Ghana. Can we finally see an African team going all the way to the final, as far as they can go? Who knows? But I'm excited about it, and it's going to be interesting just because it's November. What about you, Kay? What are you excited about? I mean, this is a really, really busy time for both of us, but what are you excited about this World Cup?
Well, I am excited this time around, and it's almost another one of our topics as well, but it's the thing that stands out most for me is to whether a South American team can go on and win it. It's been a long time, 2002. Can they do it this time around? And we know the two that we're talking about here, Argentina and Brazil. Everything is laid perfectly for one or the other to do that, the way that they've been coming into it, the teams that they've got. Could this be the year? That's a big thing that I'm thinking of. It's just strange, I suppose, the timing that this has come, because the thing is we all love watching our domestic leagues. And whenever they stop, even if it's for an international break, usually, which obviously isn't the level of a World Cup, we think, I'm desperate for those games to come back.
Yeah.
And so for them to have to stop to allow this World Cup to come has been a bit like, oh, okay, so the season's just getting underway. It's getting really interesting. And now we stop, because usually the season stops and then we think, okay, it's fine. We've only got a few weeks to wait. And then the World Cup comes. So that's been a bit weird for me as well.
It's really weird. It's like having the end of the Premier League, so to speak, and then another Premier League going to happen on Boxing Day as well. And from that, Kay, the injuries that have already happened leading up to it as well is pretty notable, right? Like, we've got some key players who are either not going to the World Cup because of the points that you're mentioning, right? The end of club competition, and then heading into the World Cup. Diogo Jota from Portugal, for example, Timo Werner, Paul Pogba, N'Golo Kante. England has its own issues, specifically from the wing-back position, Reece James, Ben Chilwell, etc., etc. Sadio Mane, he's going, but we don't know how fit he's going to be. That's really detrimental. So that worries me a little bit, just the physical, state of a lot of these players. It's going to be tough. I mean, there's a lot of players that we're missing, Kay, and that kind of annoys me. And also Haaland, Salah, they're not going for the different reasons, Kay, different reasons. But still, it's weird that it's in November.
Yeah, it is. And I just want to go back to that Messi and Ronaldo point as well,
Mm.
because I feel that that's coming up with a lot of people. And the overall consensus is that if it's going to be one of them, it's going to be Lionel Messi with Argentina. And there's this feeling that football owes Lionel Messi a World Cup for everything that he's given to us. But Alessandro Del Piero has said, do not sleep on Portugal. We were talking to him on the ESPN FC show. I thought that was interesting as well. And there's a good thinking behind that. So I'm sure that we'll get to that when it comes down to our group stages. So I think that whole Messi and Ronaldo factor is good because there's other big names as well where it's their last World Cup too. We'll get to that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's a big thing out there. England. So this
Well,
is an interesting one.
the Messi Ronaldo thing is interesting because a supercomputer, Kay, predicted that Portugal and Argentina were going to go to the final. And Lionel Messi, if he goes to the final, although at this point I don't think it's going to happen. It was meant to be his 1,000th game, but that's not going to happen. But the point is, it could happen, right? It could come to the end. I think the biggest point to all this is what you just said, which is like, does the game owe Lionel Messi a World Cup? Everything that he has given us. Now, Argentina's coming into this, like we're going to talk about them later, but like undefeated on the course of like 34, 35 matches, Copa America champions, La Finalissima, they won against Italy pretty easily. Like Messi just feels good, right? And it's the best version of Messi that we have seen. From a Ronaldo perspective, I know we got Mark coming in to talk to us about it, but like that's a different story. And listen, Kay, I know we're going to do our predictions. I don't have Portugal getting out of their group.
Oh, well, do you know, I wouldn't know, Louise, because when our producer asked for our predictions, I gave my group winners and the runners up, and you kept yours close to your chest. I'm going to be seeing them for the first time today. Here we are.
Okay, here they are.
Okay, let's see. You know, we've been friends a long time. We seem to have the same sense of humor usually. Let's see how humorous I find your picks.
Yeah, I think, listen, here's the thing. Me and you, Kate, we're good friends. So, like, obviously, we're both smart people. We get it. We understand the concept. But every now and again, we're going to disagree. First of all, no love for Mexico. All right, fine. We can talk about that later. But also, I like the fact that you have Uruguay winning their group and not Portugal. I also have Uruguay winning their group. Okay, I think Uruguay are real. I hate saying dark horse because they've won the tournament before, obviously, and they're so strong. But watch out for Uruguay, by the way. It's going to be interesting. But out of my picks, Kay, like which one are you saying? Are you insane?
Well, it's not so much are you insane, but don't start picking me up on Mexico. They've been struggling. We
Yeah.
we know they've been struggling, and you're acting as if I've just dropped an absolute clanger by not putting them through. The loss to the USA in the CONCACAF Nations final. They have a lot going against them right now. Why are you so fussy about me not picking them, Luis?
Well, first of all, it's because we have a lot of Mexican friends and I don't want to get yelled at. I do a lot of work for ESPN Deportes, so I kind of want to enter a nice, safe environment.
Keep getting invited down to their houses.
Yeah, that's part of it. Second of all, listen, Poland is Poland, and we've seen what they can do. Obviously, Robert Lewandowski leads the way, and there's other players that support him so well. Aston Villa's own very own Matty Cash. But yeah, exactly. But here's the thing. I don't know if we've seen the ceiling of Poland now. I think Mexico is up to them to get out of this group. And there's already been reports, and I think they're the final team to release their roster. But the fact that they're not bringing a few key, Diego Lainez reportedly is not going, and neither Santiago Jimenez, the player for Feyenoord. So Tata Martino is already the enemy of Mexican fans. He's already made himself more unpopular. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting.
What else did I see of yours? Uruguay, I definitely agree with you. I just feel that, I mean, year after year, and they're so easy to support as well. Yeah. There's so much talent in that squad.
Yeah, Darwin Núñez, Fede Valverde.
Was really picking it up before this. Fede Valverde, unstoppable right now. And also just what he brings. If you're not going to be able to break down certain defenses, it's all right. He'll just score a rocket from however far out. Yeah. So there's a lot to look with Uruguay. And they just always have that fighting spirit as well, which I love. I feel as though Portugal are definitely going to go through, obviously, but in second tier, because I think they just might take a bit of warming up to get into the tournament.
I don't have them getting out of the group, and I'm about to get yelled at by every...
I did. You know what? Between the three, I did have to look at this. So go on, then. Why have you not got them getting out?
Well, first of all, I think that Portugal are obviously so talented. I mean, look at that squad. It's not even about Cristiano Ronaldo, right? Yet Rafael Leao, of course, Nuno Mendes, Bruno Fernandes, Joao Cancelo. They're all over, so talented. Here's the issue. Portugal's biggest obstacle is Fernando Santos, the manager. I'm taking nothing away from what he's done for the national team, but I really think that we have seen in the past now, in the last 12 months or so, even more than that, a Portugal team that kind of is very limited from a strategical perspective. And if the other teams, not Uruguay, because I see them definitely topping this group, but if like Ghana and South Korea can take advantage of that, they might be able to do something. I know it's totally against commodity, Kay, but I see Portugal not getting out of this.
There does have to be, obviously, some surprises. And surprise, not that much of a surprise because we knew he was coming. Mark Ogden is with us. Mark, before we get started and before we even tell you what was said about the whole Cristiano Ronaldo thing on ESPN FC last night, Luis Miguel Echegaray, meet Mark Ogden. I think this is the first time you guys have met one another.
Yeah, this is the first time we're meeting, Mark. Thank you. I'm so happy. Listen, I was telling Kay that part of the reason we're doing this show is because every person on ESPN that doesn't follow us on Twitter, like I'm gonna just yell at them. So Mark, as a loud Peruvian, I'm yelling at you, telling you that you better follow me. I'm a big fan of you, Mark. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, I found out I love with Twitter, so I'll rectify that. Don't worry.
A loud Peruvian with an accent more British than both of us, Mark. We'll get to that as the part of it goes on. Anyway, Mark, before we get into everything that we've just seen from Cristiano Ronaldo, what it means for Portugal going forward, let's hear how the guys reacted on ESPN FC last night to the news.
The evidence now is in front of him, not because he's not out there playing, but because he's not out there playing and the team is winning without him. And so therefore, that's the real dagger. That's the one that truly hurts. Right. The fact that the team looks better without him on the field. And that in itself is going to create this feeling of, well, now I have to speak out because I know my time is coming to an end. And this has nothing to do with the love for the club. This has everything to do with the love for Cristiano Ronaldo and him taking care of himself. We just talked about the idea of players protecting themselves. This is exactly what he's doing. I'm going to get my side of the story out there because I don't want anybody to control it for me. I'm going to control it and I'm going to say what I need to say because I'm Cristiano Ronaldo and I deserve that much. But when you come out and say things like this, I don't think you garner respect or support. I think you garner a feeling of petty, that you come across as being petty and vindictive.
Okay, so Mark, we've got you for the first time since hearing this, at least for us here. So we want to talk about the impact this is going to have on Portugal, but what was your initial reaction to what he did and what he said?
You know something? I wasn't massively surprised because it is all about Ronaldo and his ego. I think Ale was 100% right. This isn't for the love of Man United and Ronaldo worrying about how things are going at Old Trafford. It's purely about Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, you know, this season, if you think about Ronaldo's contribution this season, it's all been about what he's done off the pitch. On the pitch, he's done nothing. He scored 3 goals, 2 against Sheriff in the Europa League, and a great goal, albeit against Everton in the Premier League. Beyond that, what do we know about Ronaldo this season? He turned up late for the pre-season training, didn't go on tour. He then left before the end of the game in a friendly against Rayo Vallecano. Then he left before the end of the game after refusing to go on as a substitute against Tottenham. And now he's done this. So it is all about Ronaldo. And I think that the saddest thing about what he said at the weekend was that it came out just hours after United won a really tight game at Fulham without him. Garnacho, the new wonder kid, scores a brilliant Ronaldo-type goal at the end. It was almost like that result was proof that United are moving on without Ronaldo. And then all of a sudden, he has to rein it back into himself. It's all about this Cristiano Ronaldo show. It was about him again. So I'm not surprised he's done it. And I think his motivation is purely to get out of the club. He's just trying to force his way out. I said earlier on, it's a desperate act of a desperate man. It's his last desperate act. What else can he do? He's not letting his football do the talking anymore because he can't. It's all about what he does off the pitch. So it's pretty sad, really. He's 38 in February, and you know he's had a great career, but it's ending on a real sour note. And what another problem as well is, if he's trying to find a club, who wants to take on a guy who's 38, isn't scoring goals, and he's a massive problem in the dressing room?
Yeah.
And earns a lot of money as well.
Yeah, exactly. That was where I was going, Kay, with that situation. Now, I said at the beginning of the show how I was so done with this Cristiano Manchester United thing. And since the moment he arrived, I said that this was a big, big mistake. Because one, from what Mark just said at the very end there, which he's reaching a part of his career where, you know, whether he likes it or not, he is not the same player he was. And Manchester United are so in love and in touch with their past and, you know, the successes of Sir Alex Ferguson, they forget and dismiss the fact that the most important thing is to look ahead to the present and to the future. And that's not Cristiano Ronaldo. Ronaldo is only about one thing, Ronaldo. And if things are not going his way, he's going to do everything in his opportunity to make sure that he himself comes out as a good person. Look what happened at Juventus. And by the way, if we look back to Real Madrid days, he also pushed himself out of that situation as well. He's always focused on him. Erik ten Hag is a manager that's trying to push United to the future. Ronaldo is not part of that.
All right. So, guys, I'm just interested in how you think this is going to affect things going forward with Portugal. Do you think now, Mark, that's put an added pressure on him because he's put all the attention on him? And then we're going into this World Cup and already all eyes are going to be on him. It's his last World Cup. But do you think it's added an extra layer now?
Maybe, but that's probably what he wanted. He loves pressure. He loves to be the main man, and he is the main man with Portugal. And he probably shouldn't be anymore, because you look at that squad and you look at, Bernardo Silva, Bruno Fernandes, you've got Ruben Dias, you've got some great defenders, great fullbacks. It's a pity that Diogo Jota's missing out, but Portugal are a really strong team, and I feel now that Ronaldo's the handbrake on that team, and Fernando Santos is the guy that won't drop Ronaldo because it's Ronaldo. But I think if you take Ronaldo out, it would make them a better team. But he wants to be the centre of attention. He wants to be the main guy. So if more focus and more pressure is on Ronaldo, in fairness, he tends to deliver. I mean, I remember so many times I've seen Portugal play and he scored the goal or a hat-trick. I mean, the opening game of the 2018 World Cup where he scored that, I think it was a hat-trick against Spain. He delivers when you're not expecting to. But I think now he's making it all about himself, but he's no longer able to make it about himself on the pitch. He isn't that guy anymore. He's not the guy that we all know from 5-10 years ago. He's a guy that's coming to the end of his career, and it's sad the way he's letting it spin out.
Yeah, I think him coming to the World Cup, Kay and Mark, I think one thing to remember is that the relationship he has with Fernando Santos is as close as he has with Sir Alex Ferguson. So, I don't think Fernando Santos cares one bit what he's saying regarding Manchester United. Fernando Santos cares only about one thing, and that's the Portuguese national team. But Mark brings a good point. This is, Kay, I think, Ronaldo's audition, right? To say, like, listen, I'm still here, I'm still around, and if a club wants me in January, this is what I can offer. So it'll be interesting how it pans out. Kay, here's a question for you. I mean, how do you see it unraveling at the World Cup with Portugal? Because I don't have them getting out of the group. You have them getting out of the group. How do you see it?
Of course I do. I can't see them not getting out of the group. I think they're absolutely stacked when it comes to attacking players. It's a great supporting cast around Ronaldo. We know what he means to that nation as well. And I just think that I don't know how it's going to play out. I feel with Cristiano Ronaldo, it's going to either be where they crash out and people will all point the finger at him and say, ha ha, look, or he will do something. I feel as though it's going to be one thing or the other. Like he'll do something really big, like Mark was just saying, these important moments where he pops up. And I feel as though it's going to be that one end or the other when it comes to Portugal. But I want to get on because we're talking about who'll go where. Some people have got Portugal going all the way to the final. Who've you got in the final, Mark?
Well, I'm not sure if I think they can step up. I think Brazil, Argentina. It looks heading that way. I just think, even though I've got my doubts about Argentina in the sense that 3-year run, a lot of it has been against fellow South American teams because of COVID and because they haven't been able to travel. So how good are they? I mean, like saying boxing, has their jaw been tested? I'm not quite sure because they're a team with a lot of aging players in the 30s. So when they come up against a strong athletic European team like France or like Germany, will they be able to cope? But they did beat Italy in the finalissima at Wembley. So maybe I'm being a bit harsh there. But I just think, Brazil have got the players at the moment. I think Argentina have got Messi. They've got people like Lisandro Martinez playing fantastic at Man United. And I think the European teams they've all got problems. I think France, injury problems. England, injury problems. Spain haven't got a goal scorer. Germany haven't really got a goal scorer. So I think the usual suspects are not quite there. The Netherlands haven't got a goal scorer. So I think, listen, I'd love to see Brazil, Argentina in the final. I've not got this kind of European outlook that it has to be a European team. I think for the game itself, for the romance and for just to rebalance the whole World Cup and the world game, to have a Brazil or Argentina world champion would be fantastic. And, personally, I'd like Argentina to win it. It'd be great for Messi, etc. But Brazil, Argentina, for me, are the two teams to beat.
Preach, Mark Ogden. Preach.
Yeah, Luis has been like really keeping the cards close to his chest at first when it came to who he had getting out of the group. It's like he didn't want me to know. Who you actually got in the final, Luis?
Actually, I wrote a piece about Brazil for the site a few weeks ago. Obviously, been covering them throughout the qualifiers and what they can do. This is the strongest Brazilian team I have seen in a very long time. And obviously, there's just so much happenstance when it comes to the 20th year anniversary since the last time they won it. Obviously, in Japan and South Korea, the fact that it's Coach Chiche's last World Cup. This squad is just filthy deep. The fact that a player like Rodrigo doesn't start is how deep they are. So to me, it's Brazil. And then after that, like Mark said, it's Argentina. And you know what? It's Lionel Messi, obviously. But the great thing about Argentina is that they don't have Messi dependencia anymore. They don't rely on Lionel Messi anymore. He's just there to become the star of the team. But they don't rely on him. Lautaro Martinez is their top goal scorer under Lionel Scaloni. So this is a very good squad. So I have Brazil and Argentina. But in my bracket, I have them meeting in the semifinals. So one of them has to win there, and I have Brazil. And on the other side, I have England.
Hang on a minute. Right, wait a second, because I have a question about Lionel Messi, because I want to get to England because of the fact you have them there. And I want to get Mark's thoughts on them as well and the squad that Gareth Southgate's taking with him. So just going back to the Lionel Messi point, Mark, if he wins the World Cup with Argentina, will that GOAT conversation be over?
Well, the GOAT conversation, i.e. Messi or Ronaldo, will be over. But I think, I grew up in here when Maradona was just an amazing player. And he won a World Cup on his own in Mexico in '86. And I think, the tendency of the modern game is to dismiss the players of the past. And I think, so in terms of the modern era, I think Messi supersedes Ronaldo if he wins the World Cup. But, Diego Maradona, Pele, Cruyff, Zidane, all these amazing players that, obviously Cruyff didn't win a World Cup, but these superstar players of the past are, equally deserving of being in that conversation of being the GOAT. But in terms of the modern era, of course, to win a World Cup would elevate Messi ahead of Ronaldo. But, Maradona for me is still that little inch above Messi because he won a World Cup on his own.
All right. So before we let you go, Mark, let's get your thoughts on England. Yeah,
I mean, you know something? I think England have got problems in the sense that defensively, I'm not convinced that certainly at centre-half they've got issues. Centre midfield, I mean, Jude Bellingham's an amazing player. Declan Rice is a very good player, but they haven't got a player in England who can dominate a game. So when they've had problems in the past in major tournaments, people like Marco Verratti in the Euro final that dominated possession, Luka Modric in 2018 in the semi-final. England can't get the ball and control a game. But as I was saying before, that Germany and Spain don't have a striker. England have a striker, a world-class striker in Harry Kane. So any team that's got a striker of that quality has a chance, because in those tight games where you're looking for that extra edge, he's there to score the goals. And I think if England had a midfielder, had a player that could control a game and just give them that opportunity. I mean, James Maddison might be the guy that can create, but he's more of an attacking midfielder. Someone that can dictate the tempo. England would be the favourites, but they haven't got that. And I think when it comes to the latter stages, when they're playing a Brazil or an Argentina or a France, that's when England struggle. And I think they could go a long way, but as soon as they play a good team who can keep possession, England are relying on Harry Kane. And then you can't rely on one man. So I think they'll go maybe quarterfinals, depending who they face, but I don't think they'll win it.
All right. Mark, thanks so much for joining us. Safe trip to Qatar, and we'll hopefully be hearing you throughout. Meanwhile, Luis, Miguel Echegaray, England in the final. What is going on?
I know. Listen, I think part of it is like, let's throw a little bit of optimism to the three lions. Obviously,
let's do it. I love it. But
I know. Like, the thing is, and obviously me and you have, personal attachments to that decision. And I think if they do it, to Mark's point, is because they're doing it in spite of Gareth Southgate, not necessarily because of him. I do want to throw a little bit of historical respect to him, though, because, he did take England to the semi-finals in 2018, and not since Sir Bobby Robson in 1990 did they do that. I don't think this team is as talented as the, Beckham, Paul Scholes kind of days, but I do think that they can be dynamic. At the back does worry me, just like Mark say. But, they have quality. It's England. It's just, you need to win your group. You need to win your group because the path becomes a little bit easier. Because if you don't win your group, then it becomes a little bit tricky. But they can do it. What do you think? You're not as optimistic as I am?
No, I'm not, but then I would be stupid to be because I've grown up getting my heart broken my whole life by it. But it's a good point you make, because if it were to be that they keep going one step better, you mentioned the World Cup semi-final, then it was the Euro final,
Yeah.
and then that undid the magic of them winning a penalty shootout in the 2018 World Cup again, because obviously it didn't go their way on penalties. What a surprise.
Was there somebody in the England squad, Kay, that you think should have gone?
Well, it's tough with the England one because I think that there's arguments for the likes of an Ivan Toney. We're talking about penalties now as well. But I can see the justification in a few of those picks. By contrast, another team in that group, the US, there are a few players where I'm like, okay, I can actually say, no, this player should have been that. I don't want to say instead of who, but there are players there that Greg Berhalter, he tried to justify his decisions. I don't know if he did.
Yeah, Ricardo Pepi should have gone to this World Cup, I think. I think he should have been chosen. I think to Mark's point about like how you need to have clinical strikers, that's the USMNT's biggest problem. Listen, they're a very good team, dynamic, young. It's great to see European-based Americans all over, right? The likes of Weston McKennie, Gio Reyna. Pulisic, even though he struggles with Chelsea, he kind of ups his game for the USMNT. So, it's good to see that. But the average age is 24 years old. They've only got 2 players that are above 30, and they don't have a clinical striker. Josh Sargent is doing well with Norwich, but is he the answer? Ricardo Pepi, to me, was at least another option. So it's a little bit weird about that decision to omit, to your point. But they're good, they're dynamic, but I do worry. I have a piece coming out, Kay, an interview with Tim Weah, and he obviously disagrees about the age thing, but I do think there's something to be said to have veteran voices there. How do you see the chances of the USMNT in this group?
It's interesting you brought this up, because we're seeing patterns with this year, and Germany, you could make this point of as well. Who's going to score the goals for them? They've got a big Bayern presence in that Germany side. You know that the goals have been shared around with the Bayern players at the moment, so there could be an aspect of this. But I looked at the US 2 World Cups ago, obviously 2014. Goal scorers: Clint Dempsey, John Brooks, Jermaine Jones, and Julian Green. The World Cup will always surprise us, Luis. We all think that we need it to be an out-and-out goal scorer, but often those goals will be iconic goals from a player that you absolutely did not expect to score that goal.
Yeah.
So, of course, it matters, and when we look at it on paper, it will, but I feel as though there are going to be surprises and goals from players that we absolutely didn't expect in the biggest teams, making the biggest of differences for their sides.
Okay, so we agree, though, right? Like, they're getting out of the group, but they're not winning it.
No, they're getting out of the group.
Yeah, but they're not going to win it.
They were both in the group together in 2010, and they finished completely level on everything.
Yeah.
But the US won the group because they'd scored more goals in the group. But in terms of goal difference, points won, they were completely level. So it's interesting. That's a very different side, though, to the one.
It is interesting. And I think it answers part of what we were talking about the need for a clinical striker. But to your point, other players can surprise you. Here's one back at you regarding England, Kay. Who was your favorite England team?
Well, is that even a question for me? And I'm showing my age now, aren't I? 1990, Italia 90 World Cup. Paul Gascoigne, absolute hero status. Yeah, that was what got me really, that cemented it for me, my love for the game. So, but I love that you've got them going all that way, Luis.
Well, there has to be one person that does it, right? I mean, I might as well do it. There's a few other teams that we haven't even discussed, though, okay? And that's within the African continent. So I just wanted to ask this question here. Like, we've talked about Senegal, okay? Obviously, the champions of Africa. Sadio Mane is a question, but they are more than Sadio Mane. This is a very deep squad. Ghana, too, very good. Although, they didn't do that great leading up to it, but now they're there in World Cup. Who is there an African team that you're looking at that you're maybe thinking this is the strongest?
It's them for me. And it's Senegal. It was tough for me because I was looking at other African teams, but for me, Senegal, remember they lost out on the fair play rule in 2018, which felt so tough and harsh for them. Aliou Cisse being there for the time that he has, since 2015 now. Boulaye Dia, there's other players in there. Sadio Mane not needing surgery is huge. They're hoping to have him ready for that game. I just feel the fact that they've had big tournament experience now as well. the fact that they've had to get past Egypt to get here, the Africa Cup of Nations win. I think everything is pointing towards them being the standout African team in the World Cup this year.
I agree. That group is screaming for them to either win it or be runner-up. Like, it's just screaming for them to do it. I do want to pay a little homage to Ghana, though. Ghana is a good team. It's just that they're bringing a lot of new players in there, the likes of Iñaki Williams and Tariq Lamptey and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see. But they're so freaking talented, K. Murray. Like, it's going to be hard. But, you know, Uruguay, Portugal, South Korea. But I think they can do it. I just hope that this is the World Cup where an African team reaches once again at least, you know, the knockout stages and even maybe the finals. Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows? Do you know what? Do you know when people do a photo dump on like Instagram? I'm just going to do a quick World Cup dump. So France, we've not even barely mentioned, but obviously we're going to. Will their warring in-house and the parents and everything else cause a problem there? I wanted to mention Belgium. Will it finally happen for them before it's too late?
So many storylines.
Yeah, the reason I'm not betting against Croatia as well is because I bet against them in 2018 being that surprise exit, and then they went all the way to the final. So I'm not going to say.
I got Canada getting out of that group. I'm very friendly on CONCACAF, Kay. I got Canada getting out of that group as well. I know,
insane. I saw, and I kind of like.
Hey, listen. Here's my tip for everybody. Like, if you want to, if you really want to wager on something that you may think whatever, Denmark is topping their group. I don't think France is going to top their group. Every time France does something great in one World Cup, the next one is the opposite. They're all or nothing. In 98, they won it. 2002, they didn't get out of the group. 2006, they went to the final, the Zidane headbutt. 2010, they didn't get out of the group. So, you know, they won it in 2018. I don't know. Like, I'm just saying, we're bound for some fireworks, K. Murray. And I feel like le sélection français might not get out of this group.
So I've got Serbia as well as a team to look at, but we're going to get a chance to do all of this because we're going to be with you twice a day sometimes. Yes, live twice a day during the group stages, live in the knockouts too. Make sure to check out our podcast. Make sure, if you haven't already, to subscribe to ESPN FC TV on YouTube. Watch ESPN FC on ESPN Plus. Yes, that's available 7 days a week as well. So our first reactions are going to be post-England-Iran on November 21st, right after the final whistle. So you guys watch it and then make sure you are ready here for us on YouTube because we're going to be with you straight afterwards. Can't wait, Luis.
I can't wait. And next time I'll bring another IFB because this was really annoying the entire time.
Yeah, we didn't mention that, but you did do a little ducking and diving, but we'll let you off. We'll see you next time.